So welcome everyone, and for all those who've joined session 3B, we're at the Best Diversity and Inclusion Practice of Asia Seminar and Awards 2020, and I'm Dr. Sujaya Banerjee. I'm the founder of the Learning and OT Roundtable and the Women Leadership Forum of Asia. I'm also the CEO of Capstone People Consulting, and it's an absolute pleasure to be able to lead this conversation. This session we've called Compassion, Grit and Determination, NGOs at the Vanguard of Driving D&I Impact. And it's an absolute pleasure and a privilege for me to be able to present in this session the Jai Vakil Foundation, the Ati Jeevan Foundation, Sarta Educational Trust, the Pride Circle, and Youths for Job. Not to forget Kinnear that we've got right here at the top. And the only reason I called them out last is because Lakshmi has not yet joined us, and she will shortly. But I want to be able to get started with the conversation. But not without introducing you to this very, very incredible panel. Suneet, move forward. Move forward, please. What we have today is we will have shortly Lakshmi Narayan Tripathi join us. She's a transgender rights activist, possibly the most popular, the most famous, the most iconic transgender activist we have. She's also the founder of Kinnear Services. She works for numerous NGOs, also has a BBC World film that has been made on her very stellar work. She's also the subject of 2 books, Me Hijra, Me Lakshmi, and Red Lipstick, The Men in My Life. She works, like I said, for various NGOs, is the Acharya Mahamandaleshwar of the Kinnar Akhada, a transgender rights activist, dancer and actress. She was the first transgender person to represent Asia Pacific at a UN task meeting in 2008 and also represented the region again at the 20th International AIDS Conference in Melbourne. So very warm welcome to her. She will be joining this session shortly, but welcome to Kinnear to this conversation. Move forward. Next, I'd like to introduce you to the very outstanding Meera Shenoy, the founder of Youth for Job. She's a pioneer in job-linked skilling of rural, tribal and young people with disabilities from underprivileged families at scale. She has set up and led EGMM, India's first state government skilling mission, and also consulted the World Bank and United Nations across Southeast Asia. She does some very outstanding work and has also been able to capture this in an inspirational book called You Can, which the Bloomsbury publication was released in Jaipur Literary Fest. There's also a Hindi translation of this book. Her work has won several national and international awards. She also won the National Award of Empowerment of Disability from the Honorable Prime Minister, President of India, and also the Asia winner of MIT's prestigious Future of Work, Inclusion and Innovation Award. So these are very celebrated people doing outstanding, selfless work in the space. Welcome, Meera Shenoy. We're really proud and privileged to have you in this conversation. Move forward. We've got Dr. Jitendra Agarwal, who also has a very fascinating story. He's been a dentist for several years before he started Sarta Educational Trust. He's also the Secretary General of National Olympic Association of India, and has been working since the last 12 years in empowering persons with disability through early intervention, inclusive education, skill development, sustainable employment, and advocacy generation, and so on. Like I said, he used to be a doctor before this, and in his 12 years, he has successfully treated more than 20,000 persons with disabilities and employed them in various sectors like IT, ITES, hospitality, retail, and other manufacturing setups. So welcome, Dr. Jitendra Agarwal. It's a real privilege to be able to have you on board with us today. Move forward. I'm delighted and honored to be able to present to all of you Pragya Prasoon, founder and secretary of Ati Jeevan Foundation. Pragya is an acid attack survivor turned activist and social worker who's been fighting for providing relief and rehabilitation to her fellow acid attack and burn survivors for the past 7 years now. She's a postgraduate in fashion management, and for her various exemplary work in the field of social welfare, she's been the recipient of many awards and accolades. She's the mascot and ambassador of Pinkathon, ambassador of the USFI South India chapter. She's also the honorary advisor of to a few NGOs and social welfare community. This is a definite diverse group that you may want to explore in terms of integration, and our purpose of presenting them to you at this conference is for you to be able to explore relationships with these and other NGOs, and we'll talk more about this as we go along. I want you to know them and know them of their work, and I think it's important for us to have this conversation with them today on the occasion of the Best D&I Practices of Asia Seminar and Awards. Move forward. We have some more very outstanding people to introduce you to. Ramakrishna Sinha is co-founder of Pride Circle. Pride Circle Foundation. He's also enabled many organizations on their LGBT inclusion journeys. Since Section 377 was revoked, there are very many organizations who have not yet taken the first step to be able to explore consciously integrating this community. But I'm very proud to tell you that many organizations have done stellar work in this space already, and they continue to inspire others. Ramakrishna Sinha has a research called In and Out, the Indian LGBT Workplace Climate Survey, which is co-authored and published by Mingle and played a crucial role in progressing the conversation in Indian workplaces. Ram has been recognized as Global D&I Hero of the Year 2017. At Intel, he also won the prestigious Champion of the Year award from Out and Equal Workplace Advocates, was also featured in the list of 50 LGBT plus future leaders globally by Outstanding and Financial Times. He's currently compiling stories of LGBTI and allies in a blog titled 101 Coming Out Stories from India. We watch out for this space for more, but today we'll be in conversation with Ramakrishna Sinha shortly. Move forward, and I have the privilege to be able to also introduce you to Akanksha Kedia, who works for Jai Vakil Foundation, and she manages the CEO's office. She's worked for the Mudra Group before and has a master's degree in international development from Monash University, Melbourne. Does very outstanding work in this space, and we try and involve her in a conversation soon. So before we get down to that, I do want the audiences to be able to experience the quality of the work you do. And so we have a video that we want to be able to play out. So everyone, this is a couple of minutes, but it's important for us to contextualize this conversation. So do be here and curious to know more about the wonderful work all these people who are on our panel here today do.
It's not only about money, it's the money which should come with dignity. It shouldn't come with sympathy. It can empathize us but not sympathize us. And there is a very thin line. When it is Make in India, every Digital India, where are the trans? Where is LGBT community included? Where is our section of money when it comes to funding for startups? If you want to move ahead in life, it is very necessary that we shouldn't wait for these big companies to come up and do something for us. And it was necessary for us to create our own ventures where, we will have a dignified, non-discriminative, without stigma workplace atmosphere. When you have other top people in the market and who have billions of dollars who can invest in their company, and we don't have that kind of funds. To survive is also a question, because we don't know the way how we will get loan or how people will help us. We believe that one day, of course, we will be there. I'm creative. I have art in me, and I can be more productive in the society. I can give lot of things if the society can only have that art of accepting me without stigma and discrimination and treating me with dignity.
80% of the world's disabled live in developing countries. India has 70 million of them, mostly in the villages. Barely 0.5% are in jobs. ILO states this low labour market participation results in a 5 to 7% GDP loss. These are the disadvantaged of the disadvantaged. How do we break this vicious cycle of poverty? We work with young persons with disabilities from poor families and companies to get them to hire them not out of sympathy but because it makes business sense. Our replicable model is step 1, advocacy. We have reached 3.2 million households. Step 2, demonstration. We have actually skilled and placed in jobs. This year, 10 youth every single day. 18,100 youth in 7 years in our 32 residential centers. Step 3, measurement. Companies found low attrition, higher productivity. Amazon alone hired 650 speech and hearing alumni in 6 locations this year. We use technology for transparency. Digital literacy is part of all our training centers and schools.
Every mother worries about her disabled child, as their brothers and sisters do not want to be burdened with them. We bless youth for jobs, for letting us die in peace.
Let us together, using technology for transforming lives, leave behind an inclusive India, an inclusive Asia, an inclusive world.
Sarta is a non-profit organization which works on the entire life cycle of a child with disability approach since 12 years. So when a child who is born with disability, we run early intervention programs, work in inclusive education space. Our main program is skill and employment, where we are working in 15 states of India. We have 21 centers, and we have Sarthak has given employment to 20,000 people with all disability, that include people who are visually impaired, hearing impaired, physical disability and intellectual disability, and work with 1,000 plus employers that include IT, BPO, retail, hospitality, manufacturing, banking, insurance, e-commerce. Across 10 sectors they are employed. And we also conduct advocacy events, and Olympics of Skill is part of Sarthak, where we conduct regional, national and international event, and our people with disability are planning next year to participate in Russia Olympic event. Thank you very much.
It was past midnight. I was traveling from my hometown Varanasi to Delhi. I woke up screaming with burning sensation over my body, and I could see fumes coming out of my hands and face. It was a man whose marriage proposal my parents had rejected, had thrown acid on me 12 days after my wedding when I was just about to start my new life. After 17 surgeries, I realized I need to move on.
Sometimes people ask me, why does your mother look so different? But I don't see it.
Initial 2 years were very difficult for me and my husband. There were times when I just wanted to push him away because I didn't want him to suffer along with me. The only thing which kept me going through all pain and frustration was the faith of my family in me, and I just couldn't let them down. Most of the burn patient and acid attack patients are from underprivileged background. And one thing they always used to tell that, Madam, aapka to family support karta hai, aapka family could, afford the surgeries, but not ours. And that was the reason I started Atijeevan, with the help of my family, friends, and a lot of plastic surgeons to provide relief to all the acid attack and burn survivors. Apart from that, we also work on rehabilitation to provide them education and vocational trainings to place them back into the industry. And for the patients who are not able to do a 9-to-5 job, we provide them skill training so that they can make handicraft products from home and find a livelihood for themselves. It's not just women who are attacked. There are men and children who are victims too. And this is what I tell them. It is just that you need to believe in yourself and move on. And trust me, you can achieve anything you want in your life. And with every survivor I have met till now, it has always proven true. Because the will to live, survive and thrive against all odds is a human thing.
मैं तुम्हें जानती हूँ, मैं आपको जानती हूँ।
It's an historic day and a wonderful time to come together to talk about LGBT workplace inclusion and to rise.
Keep that selfie, because that's a selfie of the time that you were at the very first LGBTQ job fair in India.
Can I please ask you all to rise? For rise.
We are not worried about your sexual orientation. We are really there to support you to bring yourself to work.
Right. Well, great stuff. Thank you, Suneet, for helping us with that. We're really very overwhelming, I must say. And that's why we called the session Grit, Compassion, Grit, and Determination. I'm really delighted to announce that Lakshmi Tripathi has also joined us in the conversation. So thank you for coming in on board. We introduced you earlier in the session. So
thank you so much.
Very privileged to be able to have you on board and join the rest of us. So the introduction around the work that you do, was kind of nicely captured in that film. I'm going to ask, and maybe I'll start with Dr. Agarwal and then we'll move on to Lakshmi. I'd like to ask both of you this, which is, tell us what corporates looking to integrate with diverse groups, with the kind of diverse groups that you have. How can they work with you? What are your own challenges in terms of being able to seek diverse talent? More often than not, this bridge between the work that you're doing and providing employment to corporates is the problem. And I'm just trying to figure, if you can articulate for me, what are the challenges you're experiencing in terms of being able to become an adequate bridge? And I want the audience to be able to know more about this so that, they can work more closely with people like you to build talent pipelines for their organizations. So, Dr. Agarwal, I think you're on mute. If you can unmute yourself and then come in. Tell us a bit and tell the audience a bit about how it is that organizations can work more closely with you. All right, I think he's not there, so I'm going to turn this over to, he's just come back. Okay, let's wait a second. Does he want to join? Okay, you need to unmute yourself. No, I think you're still on mute, Dr. Agarwal. So, okay, while you're doing that, let me try and bring Lakshmi into the conversation. Lakshmi, tell us how it is that you can become a bridge. What is the bridge you require between corporates and yourself?
See, the biggest thing is what one has to really. Good morning, first of all, for this fabulous platform which you have created, and it has been really wonderful. On behalf of Kinnear and my entire team of trans men, trans women, I really thank the entire group for doing so. So the whole thing, the bridge, what you were talking about, I believe that the bridge is very important. The bridge, but the understanding of the bridge is quite necessary. The day when you stop talking we and they, when we talk we all as a community, nobody is different. Some people are there, maybe of understanding with the sexual minority community and trans community especially. It is that we are very productive and we want to be productive for the society, and we want people as to treat with without stigma and discrimination and with dignity. When people leave behind their bias about us, that they are trans and we are normal. Nobody is normal in this world. And then they believe that we are not good for anything and we cannot be productive for any institution. We can be productive for every institution, but the institution has to have the ability to accept us without stigma and discrimination and treat us with dignity as equal to any man and woman. In this country where gender budgeting still is a very big question, still there is women's safety is an issue. Trans women and trans men is one of those big issues where we need to address, and we need to create jobs where they are treated with dignity. There may be things which one cannot be fully equipped and have that much of capacity because of lack of some educational qualification. But if you give hand holding to them, if you have the ability to hold them across and take them forward, then only the things will change.
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, I think we want to create some sensitization around this, which is my purpose of asking you this question. Dr. Agarwal, are you better poised now to be able to respond?
Yeah. So I'm audible now?
Yes, you are.
Yes. Yeah. So thank you very much. So just I'll give you the just history about this. I used to practice dentistry in 2004 when I lost my vision 2004 to 7. When I was going through this phase of, you can say, disability, I realized that in India, livelihood was a challenge for people with disability. And initially, when we interacted with the corporate houses, they were not aware. And they used to ask, like, how disabled will come, what they will eat. And because awareness was there, total lack of awareness was there in corporate houses. So 2008, as a professional, I thought to contribute for this cause by giving them livelihood, because I personally realized that if a disabled person is sitting at home without any job, so he's surely burden on the society, family, and there is a different mindset. So 2008, when we started, when we went to corporate houses, awareness was, so we started with some roundtable conferences, like initially, and the conversion started from CEO to top to bottom approach. We started with few BPOs. Initially, we spoke to the CEO and then the CHRO and then the lower down chain. So they started hiring disabled people. And then they spoke in like your format of your roundtable, similar format we adopted in 2008. And then some BPO started hiring, similarly retail, hospitality, and all disability that include like hearing impaired people, hospitality sector for retail, hearing impaired, for physical disability all across, and for visually impaired BPO. So initially when the conversion started from single to 100 corporates, it was a movement in the market, and people started listening to corporates who hired people with disability. Initially, of course, it was challenging, but now demand has been created in such a way that our pipeline is not up to the mark, and that's why we are expanding across India. And it's a structured employability program that we have with corporate houses, where we initially do job analysis. Suppose recently Amazon wants to hire people with disability, so we did an analysis in Amazon and 500 profiles that where what disability is suitable. After identification of that job profile, there is initial maybe CHRO will say, okay, I'll go for 2 profiles. So initial identification, then initial hiring. But before hiring, we work on accessibility, workplace solution, a lot of workshop, sensitization workshop with the supervisor and manager to understand what is disability, maybe to train them on sign language for hearing impaired, maybe for software for visually impaired, and accessibility part for physical disability. And it's a structured model now. People are replicating across India and maybe globally also this model. And now I think and it has scaled to different sectors. Like initially we started to BPO retail, now banking has come, now health sector has come, e-commerce is picking up, like all Walmart, Amazon, Flipkart or Naukri or Make My Trip, everybody is hiring. So across 10 sectors, people has been hired.
Right. Well, that's a very comprehensive response, and thank you for sharing that with us. I want to be able to move over to Meera Shenoy and ask you, we're keen to know in this segment, what are the challenges that you experience to be able to have your people employed? Is there a pipeline available? Do you, like Dr. Agarwal pointed out, have programs on how it is that you're developing this pipeline and making them capable to be able to get employed so that they're able to make a valuable contribution and become independent, financially independent members of the society? So, Meera Shenoy of Youth for Job.
Thanks, Sujaya, first for putting together this wonderful, diverse panel, and that's what I like about it. Well, talking about companies, I find that what is the most important is that you need to help companies to discover the business case of hiring. For all companies, I think the business is most important. And if you don't do that, then your work does not get mainstream. What happens is then it just becomes 1 or 2 who get hired, but it does not become part of the company's fiber. And that's what you aim to do. So how do you do it? I think there are 2-3 models which we look at. One is that can you put the youth with disabilities in front-facing jobs? Because generally what happens is people like to hide them behind. Okay? And there's some wonderful work which we've done and some others have also done. The work which we did was in the retail sector. You know, we thought, why can't these speech and hearing impaired be cashiers? So we did a pilot of something which is called the silent cashier.
Okay.
The issue is that in the beginning, to convince retail chains, it's difficult. But once you do it, 3 months later, they did a consumer study and found that 95% of people preferred, guess what? Is it the silent or the speaker cashier? Obviously the silent cashier, because the speech and hearing impaired can't speak. He works in such a focused manner. And the same group took it across to all its outlets, and all the other retailers adopted it. No one understands who did the first pilot. But the fact is that for the industry, you get 50,000 new jobs which get generated, which were closed before for the speech and hearing impaired. The second model which we do, which is working very well, is we pick up one progressive company in an industry and we work with them, and we did this with great success in the automobile industry. We took one company, which was a French company, and worked with them. The CEO actually called me and he said, Meera, I hear you moved into the disability sector. Will you give me one receptionist? And I told him, no, Jay, please don't do this. Let's work systematically together. So we began with 25 youth who we put into one line. That HR person shared it in the internal discussions with the other businesses. And today, between Chennai, Pune, we have something like 100 youth in this company. Not just this, when there was a global competition, among them, they have some 3,500 plants. When there was a global competition done, our work won the first inclusion award.
Lovely.
So that's a second. So like that, we have 3-4 approaches which we use. Besides, of course, we do all what Jitendra spoke about. I have a corporate team which is across the country, and now we are in 28 states of India. So whoever wants, wherever want, we are there. And the other big very important thing we realized was, I began our work looking at what India needs, which was youth from the villages with disabilities and tier 2 town with less education. But very soon I realized that companies came to us and said, hey, listen, we want educated youth. And we didn't have them. So 2.5 years back, we've launched this very large program called the College Connect, which takes you to colleges and universities. And there now we have a complete new pipeline of youth and new pipeline of companies, which makes us like a one-stop shop for companies, because we have less educated for entry level, we have educated for the other positions, and we have all our services.
Superb. I think this has been such a powerful response and very inspiring indeed, all the work that you're doing, Meera. I will come back to you. I want to at this point move over to Ramakrishna Sinha, and I want to be able to ask you, what are the challenges you're experiencing to be able to integrate talent into organizations? Do you have the right kind of talent pipelines that organizations may be seeking? And we're simply asking this question so that we can open up the dialogue around this. And, we do have a movement beyond this to be able to become the bridge and enable, organizations to be able to work more closely with you. And like Meera pointed out, to help you start building those talent pipelines so that you know what it is that organizations actually require the most and what is it that you can actually contribute to the most. Now, you've been doing these fabulous job fairs. So tell us a bit about your work, and we'll come back to ask you about success stories. At this point, I just want to know more about the challenges you experience and what is the work you're doing around building talent pipelines for organizations.
Thank you for having me, and it's really heartwarming to see the kind of brilliant work every organization is doing and really making a difference to the society at large to make it inclusive for everyone.
So, I want to jog your memory. I actually told you a year ago when I met you that I would get you onto this conference. Do you remember that?
Yes.
So, So I just want to, I think it's wonderful that we said this whenever it is that we met and this really happened. So
yeah,
I'm delighted.
Really amazing. Thank you. So I think the first challenge is the LGBT community, while the trans section is very visible, a large part of it is an invisible minority in the sense that there are LGBT people in the room. We just don't realize there are. And because we don't know the challenges, we just assume everything is hunky-dory, there's nothing wrong. And hence that leads to a lot of systemic barriers and biases within the workplace, which don't get addressed because no one raised a complaint about it. And that leads to like a vicious cycle where there are people who are suffering in silence because they don't feel empowered enough to report it, and other teams don't even take cognizance of it because no one reported it. So I think that there's definitely systemic barriers within the workplace when it comes to LGBT inclusion. The second question, which most people said, is about availability of talent pool, where even a company wants to hire a talent, diverse talent, they want a plug-and-play model that, hey, they should have the right skill set, the right education, and should just integrate very quickly in the workplace. It's not going to happen not because the talent is not capable, but because there are systemic barriers within the workplace. And the simple thing like having access to all gender restroom, right? When you putting a gender mark in the form, do you have more options than male, female to self-ID? Now, people who identify as non-binary, are we allowing a dress code, a language of inclusion where you feel welcome, right? So that is missing. And the third piece, hence we are investing a lot on skill building. Through the foundation, we have been doing a lot of skill building programs, and there are again various kinds of it. Obviously, there is a program where people who may not have formal education for them, so how can they pick up data entry jobs or skill set which don't necessarily require formal education. And then there are programs around entrepreneurship so they can get started and start their own small enterprises. Then the aspect where there is education but not necessarily the right fitment to workplace, hence we're doing like bridge courses in terms of exposure to what is the future of work looks like in terms of AI, ML, IoT, a future of workplace in healthcare, legal sector. So that what are the skill set and bridge courses people can do? So converting their degree into now an employable skill set, right? And the third piece we are heavily invested is about building an infrastructure called Pride Chamber of Commerce, where we're trying to put together an ecosystem to support LGBT-owned businesses to scale and grow. So even if you're an LGBT person who has just ideation phase of what you want to do, there's an ecosystem being built. They can support you to really mentor to actually move from idea to execution.
Great stuff. Lovely. Thanks for that response. I think with that, I want to be able to move over to Pragya. And this time, Pragya Prasoon of Atijeevan Foundation. Pragya, tell us a bit about the challenges you experience in terms of being able to integrate and find jobs for people from your, from the group that you work with. And what are the challenges around talent pipeline building? And, tell us a bit about that so that the audience understands how it is that they can actually connect up and support your movement.
Well, as everyone knows, we have been supporting acid attack and burn survivors. So, this sector is very, very new to PWD sector because, the acid attack survivors have been introduced under disability category just 2.5 years back. So, we are still exploring, with the companies, with the corporates, how to integrate, this diverse sector of, people in the corporate. And, just to tell you, we have been able to place a couple of survivors in MNCs, in corporates, and the whole thing is very, very new to them as well. We completely understand because, one thing what you see when you meet someone is, their face, and when it is completely disfigured or deformed, you have this pity. You knowingly or unknowingly make that pity face that, I'm so sorry for what has happened to you. But this is the exact thing which we don't want in these people to face in their workspace. So we also do sensitization in the corporates wherever our survivors are placed, that, they are different. But they can hear, they can listen, they can, see. And they are
and you may want to add, Pragya, that many of them are highly qualified.
Yes. A couple of them are highly qualified, and they are, as how you are. So this something very, very apt thing which Meera has mentioned, that people always want to hire people with disability in their not at front desk, which we also highly ask corporates to hire them at front desk, because we have been working with hospitality sector, and what we see is they want to hire them, but they want to hire them for the back end, which then how are you integrating them into your workforce if you are not making them meet to people at large, people who are coming to your organization, to your company and talking, and so we highly recommend them to put survivors at the front desk, so that people know that, and it is completely okay, it is completely normal to put them at the front desk. They can talk, they can listen, they can see. So what's the difference? What's the problem in that? So
Okay, all right. Thank you for articulating that and sharing that so openly. We're going to make this quick because we don't have a lot of time. Akansha, can I get you in? And if you can respond to the same question, which is around how can there be a bridge between organizations and you? Do you have challenges on placing the talent that you have? Do you have challenges in developing the talent pipelines that organizations are looking for?
Sure. Thank you, Sajaya. I think I'll just like to take this opportunity first to kind of explain intellectual disability, because what we feel often there is, a lack of awareness when it just comes to understanding this disability, because it's very invisible. So IDD basically, it's an IQ-based condition, and it functions on a spectrum. So the so-called normal IQ is 100, but if your IQ is anywhere 70 and less, you're categorized as someone having intellectual disability. And what it does is it impacts two kinds of functioning. One is your cognitive functioning, and second is your socio-adaptive functioning. So, your independent living, your communication skills, your problem-solving skills, they all are impacted in some way or the other. So I think the first basic thing I feel, it's the mindset shift, right? At every layer. So from a corporate perspective, from a co-worker perspective, it's the mindset to really understand this population, because we truly believe if it's a population that you cannot understand, it often scares you. And if something scares you, you're not going to include them. So I feel the first and foremost thing is really the mindset shift. And I echo the few previous speakers where it really needs to become the DNA of the corporate. It needs to be a cultural thing. It cannot be a tick box somewhere. And what in our experience we have noticed is often top driven. So, the top management, really the buy-in. But then how does it seep to the exact co-worker who is working with the person who has intellectual disability? Because often the reality in our space, at least with intellectual disability, is that they may not be at managerial positions. They may be at entry-level positions. They may be your data entry officers or someone in the housekeeping. So if Akansha is a person with IDD, is my co-worker who is in the same shift, is he or she really sensitized about my unique needs and challenges? So I feel it's all about sensitization and really engaging with the person with disability. I think that's the first and foremost step that we all can take. And I'll just wrap it around from the non-for-profit perspective, from Jai Vakil's perspective. We have a 3-year vocational training program, and the last year of the program is really focused on building the skill sets of our students so that they can be employed in the open placement outside. So the focus is really, how do we increase their employability skills? And again, that's where the corporates can really help us, structure these internship programs, because that can be, their field experience, and that will be the field experience for the person with disability, but it also is an opportunity for the other workers in the corporate to really get sensitized to the world outside of their own. So I'll pause here and we'll come back.
Thank you, Akansha. So I think you're all making very pertinent points, and what is striking me is what Lakshmi Tripathi said right at the start. Do we have Lakshmi on board? Sunit, has she dropped off? I think in her video, she actually mentioned that, we don't want your money, we want dignity. And so allow us to earn with dignity. And I think, that is the opportunity that we have as a very stellar part of the audience here today is from the HR community, and our enthusiasts, evangelists, and achievers, and are very accomplished in the space of diversity and inclusion. The idea is to be able to look at, and for those who are still on this journey, to be able to explore how it is that you can work closely with these very fascinating organizations and so many more. It's a very large spectrum. And so what we plan to do in January is to be able to announce the NGO commune, which is to present 50 NGOs that organizations can actually deal with so that they can start developing their talent pipelines with them. So I'm hoping to be able to invite all of you to be able to participate as part of that, so that we're able to get organizations and you to be able to converse and to be able to take these conversations forward. I want to, at this stage, I know we're at the fag end of the conversation. It's been fascinating to watch your videos, been fascinating to listen to each one of you. I want to be able to take some success stories from the group. So I'm just wondering, we did have Meera share some of them. I'm just wondering, Ramakrishna, do you want to come in to be able to talk about a success story or two so that we can inspire more people to walk down this path? So,
sure.
Yeah, do come in. Yeah, I'm going to ask everyone to keep your success stories ready because we want to try and do a bit of a rapid fire to be able to bring in one or two more. We don't have very much time, so over to you, Ramakrishna.
So before we did the first job fair, India's first LGBT job fair, no one knew what to expect. From a company perspective, no one seriously looked at what the LGBT talent pool looks like. And even from a community perspective, they're not really sure to come to open space where they're really being out in a certain sense. The day of the job fair, I got to know that one trans woman has traveled all the way from Bhubaneswar to Bangalore for this. And I felt a lot of pressure that someone put so much of trust that this is a fighting chance for me. Mm-hmm. And they had faced a lot of discrimination in the hometown because of their gender identity and were not given the job which matched their skill set. And very recently they completed a year in 24/7 where they were hired at the job fair. So that is the possibility what you're trying to create, that hey, we're just bringing a platform where you have an opportunity to meet an LGBT person and value their skill set, gauge the skill set and talent and fitment based on the skill set, and just provide an opportunity to prove their potential. And today we have placed some 100+ people in various organizations, and these stories really keep us going that we are able to make a difference to someone's life.
Right. Great stuff. I'm going to pass this over for a very quick, Dr. Agarwal, if you can share a success story with our audience. I'm not seeing a lot of questions here, so I'm just wondering, is there anybody who wants to post questions on the chat? Here's your chance. I can ask your question on your behalf. So either post it on the questions or post it on the chat. There are some comments, but we don't have enough questions in this session. So feel free to put down your question if you'd like to ask. We still have 10 minutes to go. Dr. Agarwal, over to you.
Yeah. So I think there are 20,000 success stories, but when it comes to sectoral innovations, like in 2008-9, hospitality was there, and in hospitality people were trying like how to hire people with disability, because when it comes to physical disability, they might be in front and door. But when it comes to main housekeeping, kitchen stewards, so hearing impaired was the choice. And people were thinking that how the hearing impaired children will talk to the customer or to the internal communication. So it was challenging for us also initially, but then I think we decided to train managers, supervisors on the ground who can interact with people with hearing impairment. But when it comes to like servicing in a restaurant, so I think then we designed a card where it's written that my name is blah blah. I'm not able to speak, so you can please write down your order. So that innovation gives to thousands of jobs to people who are hearing impaired. And secondly, people who are visually impaired, so in BPOs, people thought how they will work because they are not able to see on the computers. So we went with this screen reading softwares with two headway, where one headway was there in the computer and one with the phone, and they were kept they were able to do like 200 calls. A non-disabled guy is doing 100 calls, but they are able to do 200 calls. Similarly, in e-commerce also it was challenging when these e-commerce companies came to India and they were interested in hiring, and similarly same solution came there also for people who are hearing impaired as a wish master or maybe in front end jobs for people who are physical disability.
Right. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think you people are all so incredible, doing such incredible work. God bless you and God bless your work. And I'm hoping that the LNOD Roundtable and the WLFA is able to support your journey in some significant way. I want to be able to let the audience know that the Governing Council of the LNOD Roundtable commended all these NGOs with an award. And I don't know if you have it handy. If you do, please show it off to the audience so that they can see your awards. Do you have it handy, any of you? Maybe you can actually show off the awards. So there's a special commendation award that we gave out only to all of them. They did not participate as part of the study, but we did get to know of their work, and the Governing Council of the LNOD Roundtable has given out the award to all of them, and I want to congratulate you for having received that award, and I hope it finds a place of pride in all the accomplishments that you have, all the accolades that you have for all the many accomplishments that your NGO has.